Hey guys, just want to officially welcome you to the first part of my question and answer contest. I'm probably going to try to break this up into a couple videos because I had like 20 some questions, or 20 some people that asked 2 or 3 or 4 questions. So, but I'll try to do a few of these, and then hopefully in the last video I'll be able to draw a name and tell you guys who won. Got all the names here in my little trusty BC mug. Big fan of Johnny Hart and BC. Here's all the names of people who entered. So, get started on these questions. These are in random order. I didn't go by who asked the first one or anything. So, okay, first question we got is, do you like horror comics? This is from Blade 91100. Do you like horror comics, and if so, what is your all-time favorite horror title? Man, it's hard. I love horror comics. As far as favorite titles, man, it is I don't know, one favorite. Well, when I first started collecting, I got into DC stuff first. So the stuff I was reading was like House of Mystery, Unexpected, House of Secrets, and then when I got into Marvel, it was like all the monster comics, the Frankenstein, Werewolf by Night, Tomb of Dracula, and then the old monster reprints, especially like Where Creatures Roam, Where Monsters Dwell, Monsters on the Prowl, Vault of Evil, just stuff like that, like those old great reprints from the 50s. And also a title or some books that I really loved from the 80s was the stuff that Pacific Comics came out with, Twisted Tales and Alien Encounters and stuff like that. I mean, those books were just great. So Blade, man, I'm sorry, I just cannot pick one. Those are like my favorites. But great question. Okay, this one is from our good friend LaRasa. As we all love Kirby's art, which of his written stories do you like most? And one more, when did you start drawing and what pushed you to do that? As far as the stories Kirby wrote, I mean, really he didn't get to do any of that until he came to DC. And I loved all the Fourth World stuff, New Gods and Forever People, and the stuff he did with Jimmy Olsen. And but the 2 books that really I love, of course, people know this that watch my videos. I mean, Commandy is my all-time favorite comic character. So when he started doing the scripts and the Arl knows, I mean, it's really no question which one was my favorite one. And as far as when did I start drawing, ever since I got hold of pencil. I was probably 6, 7, 8 years old. I started sketching stuff and copying stuff out of the Sunday comic strips and stuff out of my little Peanuts paperbacks and my BC paperbacks, and and I really learned to draw by tracing a lot of stuff. And I would get this is something that's kind of bad, but when I was in school, before they had copiers and all that, they had the little carbon copy that they would make the original off of, and they would make all the copies from that. Well, I would ask the teacher if I could get the the used copy of whatever test or whatever she was using and get the carbon off of that. Now, and I would like trace over the pages and put a piece of paper underneath the image, like in the comics and some of my comics actually, and just trace that. And really, that's kind of the way I learned to draw. Other than when my folks found out I had an interest in it, my mom, she went all out, and mom and dad went all out one year and got me one of those old John Nagy art sets. For a lot of you older viewers, I know you know what that is. He used to have a TV show in the 50s that I just recently got to saw some pieces of it on YouTube. So, yeah, I got into that, and I started drawing and just drew a little bit of everything, and I really got into comic art, once I started getting into comics. So, I got started early. Great question, LaRasa. Okay, here's my good buddy Hippie's Collectibles. If you could only collect 2 titles, one from Marvel and one from DC, which one would you pick? I'm just going to limit this to current titles, because if I went back, I mean, I would be it would be hard to choose. But as far as from Marvel, right now I'm really enjoying the Uncanny Avengers. You know, I just always loved team books. I love the Rick Remender's writing on it, and I was kind of sad that John Cassidy, you know, didn't do any more issues than he did. But you know, I like what's the guy? I can't think of the guy's name doing now. Daniel Acuna, I think, is doing the art now, which I liked his art anyway. I think he did a series of Freedom Fighters for DC, but I really love the Uncanny Avengers and Superior Spider-Man. I can't choose between them because both those are just great books, so I'll just call those two a tie. I'll cheat a little bit. And from DC, like I said, I love the Justice League books and all the team stuff and Earth 2 and World's Finest, but I really love Grant Morrison's writing. And so probably right now, as far as ongoing titles, Batman Incorporated is like my favorite book to read right now. Man, the writing is that just great. And Chris Burnham, he's got a style just like Frank Quitely, and I love Frank Quitely's art. So there's that. Thanks, Tom. Okay, I'm trying to watch my time here, so I'll try not to bore you guys too much. Okay, this is from the Incredible CJ. And his question is, where, like name of the place, was your favorite place to go buy new comics or back issues? And if you got rid of your collection but could only keep one run or title, what would it be? Okay, when I was a kid, my favorite place to go was the drugstore. There used to be a place called Bath County Drug, and I think my dad or my mom and dad both, they would go to town like every Saturday, and so you know, I would go there and get my comics. And actually, when I was a kid, I hated to get a haircut. You know, I hated to go to the barber. You know, I really didn't hate getting a haircut, but I hated going to the barber. But I figured out after a while, the barber shop that my dad started taking me to was just like a block up the street from the drugstore. So I kind of got smart, and I hopped in the chair first and got it done. Then I'd go up to the drugstore and read comics and pick out which ones I was going to get while Dad was getting his haircut. And then I would come out with a stack or whatever my allowance was that week or whatever money I had. So that was probably my favorite place as a kid. Probably the second place there used to be a store called Maloney's. And they used to sell those 3-packs of comics for like 59 cents, and that was a good place to get books too. As far as the place to go for new comics or back issues now, basically the internet. You know, there's some shops that are probably within 35-40 minutes of me, but as far as back issues, they're really lacking, like in older stuff. I mean, you'll have stuff from you know, the 90s on up, you know, and they got a few wall books, you know, that are outrageous. And probably the best bargains I found has been like at peddlers malls and antique malls and, you know, just places like that. You know, you can find some little hidden gems in there. But otherwise, as far as back issues and new stuff, the internet is really the best place I found. Because it's, you know, it's really not like it was when I was a kid. Or, you know, a lot of you that are my age or older, you know, you could find comics on every corner store. Every little mom and pop store had comics, and every grocery store, and every, you know, everybody was having yard sales, and you know, they were selling comics like for a nickel and 10 cents. So a lot of those great old places from my youth are gone. So basically the internet is the best place. And really now, you guys have been a big help in helping me discover books that I didn't know were out there, or that I really hadn't thought about collecting. And you know, you guys have been a big help. You know, it's like you've really got my juices flowing again, seeing everybody else's stuff and seeing their enthusiasm and thinking, hey, you know, I'm not the only one out there. But there's that. Okay, King Joe has the next question. In your opinion, where do you think the hobby will be in 20 years, and what was your favorite comic when you were a kid? Where will the hobby be in 20 years? I think it'll still be here. I've heard a lot of talk about comics going all digital and all that, and I really don't think that's going to happen. I think there's too many of us out there that just actually like holding a comic in our hand and being able to, especially you get an old comic, especially, and I'm a sniffer. I say, oh, that's a good smell. You get the brown paper, and you get the old ink smell, and it's great. And even with the new stuff, you just want to hold it in your hand, and you want to see the artwork, and you want to read it, and just have some concrete substance to it. I mean, if I had to read them online, I would, but I would really hate that because I just like the comic book format. I mean, I like having them on the shelves and having them on the walls and having stacks of them I can go through. Instead of just, that would be boring to me to have it all on a computer. And what was my favorite comic when you were a kid? Probably, Commandy is my favorite character, but probably my favorite comic title was Justice League of America. I mean, that was one that I was really excited to see a new one come out. I would, if I had the last issue on the last page, and DC did this a lot on their 70s comics, is the next issue on sale or about on April so-and-so, So I'd be scouring the drugstores, trying to find when the next issue came out. And I pretty much figured it out after a while, what day the books came. It's not like now where, every Wednesday is Comic Book Wednesday. It's just depending on what what store you went to or where you went to pick your comics up. And a lot of times they would have like all the comics and the magazines, like Woman's Day and the car magazines and the bodybuilder magazines all in one stack, all wrapped up, and you'd kind of have to wait for them to, open the bundle before you could really see what was in there. But yeah, probably Justice League of America. I'm still trying to complete that run, and that's the one that gave me the most charge to see on the rack when I was a kid. The world's greatest superheroes, all in one comic. So, thanks a lot, Joe. Okay, my good buddy Damien, Sleepy Reader 666. A little bit something different. As a lot of you know, I'm into music quite a bit. I've been playing since I was like 7 years old. So, and his questions are: who are your biggest inspirations in your bass playing? And as an artist, who inspired you in your art? Pencilers and inkers. Ooh, bass players, man, there are so many great ones. When I started listening to music, when I started playing music, I mean, all we had around the house were country and bluegrass and gospel, records. And I liked all that stuff, but my aunt gave me a big, huge pile of LPs. And I've probably told this on the video before, but she gave me a big, huge pile of LPs and 45s. And I mean, there was everything in there from Elvis to the Association, to the Beach Boys, the Beatles, the Monkees, Ray Charles, the Impressions, Marvin Gaye, just all all those old great rock and pop and Rolling Stones, and the R&B groups, man. That's what really got me interested in bass playing. And some of those guys were like awesome. As far as an early bass influence, probably James Jamerson. I mean, he played on all those great Motown hits. All the old Jackson 5 records, and just any great R&B bass lines. He did the bulk of them. I mean, and it was a real shame he left us way too soon. But James Jamerson is like, as far as an older bass player. And two, this might sound kind of strange, but Paul McCartney really influenced my bass playing a lot, because he, when the Beatles became popular and they kind of got into their, what I call their middle period, I mean, they were doing a whole lot of melodic stuff. And, his bass playing, he played bass like a frustrated guitar player. I mean, the guy was just kind of all over the neck, and he was playing, high notes and octaves and all these real cool melodies. And I just loved his bass playing. And later on, when I got into jazz and that kind of thing, Jaco Pastorius, man alive, Stanley Clarke, Mingus, I loved his stuff. And there's a guy that's been out several years, a guy by the name of Doug Johns. You can check him out. Great bass player. There's just so many, but those are probably my favorites. Okay, as an artist, who has inspired you in your art? Pencilers and inkers. There's a lot of comic artists that I love. And as far as, you know, the stuff I do, you know, which I'm going to do a video showing some of my stuff, but I don't know if any one comic artist really inspired my art. If I had to pick a person who did that, it would be my mom, because she's a great artist. She does a lot of painting, you know, and she really encouraged me, you know, and you know, like you're a kid and you drew a little doodle and you take it up to your mom and dad and they say, "Oh, honey, that's great," you know, but you know, they really meant it, and they really encouraged me, and they bought me art books, and you know, my dad too, you know, because he funded a lot of that stuff, or helped fund a lot of it, and he encouraged me. But really my mom, because she is a great artist. You know, I've actually got 3 or 4 of her paintings in our apartment here, and I might try to show those on a video. But yeah, probably my mom. So thanks, Damien. Okay, I'm gonna do 3 or 4 more, and I'll probably cut this one off. But Monster Model Builder. Now, Chris said he didn't want to be entered, but he did want to ask a question. Monster Model Builder. What is it about Planet of the Apes that draws you to it? Well, you know, I think the first time I saw an Apes movie, it was like on TV. It was like Go Ape Week or something like that when I was a kid, because the first movie came out in '68, and I was only like 5 years old, and I really don't remember, you know, I didn't go to the theater to see any of these movies. I got to see the Apes movies later on TV, and you know, later stuff on video and all that. As far as what draws me to, I mean, I just always loved sci-fi, and it's like the Twilight Zone. I mean, it had all those little twist endings. You know, you were just, when I watched it, I was always waiting for the twist ending. You know, and when I saw Planet of the Apes, you know, and the last scene, you know, and it was all the other stuff was great. I mean, you know, Charlton Heston in the spaceship and the trek across the desert. You know, and they discover the apes are in charge, and they think they're on another planet. And they make you believe that you are on another planet, because how could that happen? You know, but it scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. But it was something I just sort of like you say this, sort of like a car wreck. I couldn't stand to really look at it, but I couldn't stand to look away. It just something about it drew me in. But it's just like the ending of that movie. You know, it was like one of the greatest images, you know, in sci-fi or, you know, cinema history as a whole. Because, you know, just think about that. If you saw that movie, you know, years ago, just a few years after it came out, or when it came out, it was just like that struck you, you know, and you think, and the whole concept of you know, animals talking and all that, it was just a great thing. And the funny thing is, little trivia here, as far as like in the Twilight Zone and Rod Serling actually, he is the one that came up with that ending. You know, he was co-screenwriter or co-screenplay writer on that movie with Michael Wilson. And he's actually the one that, in one of his early drafts of the script, that came up with that idea for the Statue of Liberty. You know, so there's a lot of things that draw me to that movie, and those movies in general. But, you know, I'm a big sucker for the post-apocalyptic thing, and time travel and all that was involved in that movie. I mean, I didn't know then what drew me to it, probably, but there was just something about it, you know, and I just had to keep watching those movies, and then the TV show came along, and it became a big thing. But there you go. Okay, Hitman Von Doom. My question: who is your favorite Marvel, DC, and independent hero? Let's see. Hero. I mean, Commandy is my favorite character. I guess you could classify him as a hero, but as far as a superhero, I don't know. It's really hard. You know, I love Spider-Man. For Marvel, it would probably be a tie between Spider-Man and Hulk and Captain America. It's hard to narrow it down. I mean, just so many great characters, so many great stories. For DC, you know, it would have to be Commandy, and probably, you know, and Batman is the obvious answer a lot of times, or Superman, but I really loved The Flash. Now, if you go back and read a lot of those Silver Age stories, I mean, they were really kind of cool. You know, there would be some kind of way he would use his super speed, or some way he would use it to outwit, you know, Captain Cold or Heatwave, or, you know, the Trickster or Captain Boomerang or Gorilla Grodd. He had so many. I think one of the things that attracted me to Flash, like Batman, he had such a great rogues gallery, you know, of the villains. He just had great villains, and I think that's what drew me to it. You know, I thought it would be cool to have the power of super speed. So probably for DC it would be like Flash and Commandy. And as far as an independent hero, that is a tough one. There's a lot of great characters in Independence. I mean, any character in Frank Miller's Sin City I loved. And there's a lot of great Independents out right now. I think, I don't know. Man, that is tough. As far as an independent hero, it's really one of my favorite independent books that came out in the 80s was The Elementals. And I just really love that book. I mean, Bill Willingham just knocked it out of the park with that one. So probably any one of the Elementals, because they were really well written. And if you go back and pick those up, you can pick the trade up like the first 8 issues, but he did the story and the art. But they were all like based on the elements. You had one guy that was called Monolith. You know, he was earth-based. Vortex was air-based. Fathom, she was, you know, based from the water, and Morningstar was the one with the fire powers. But probably any one of those characters was probably my favorite from the Independents. So, okay. This next one is from Greco Fabulous. My question is, if you were held hostage by a supervillain, who would you want it to be and why? It's probably not a question, but it just popped into my head. Thanks for the opportunity. Who would I want to be held? You know, just saying you want to be held captive anyway is kind of a bad thing. But wow, held captive. Let's see. Probably Dr. Doom, because, you know, he was so full of himself. You know, in all those stories of the Fantastic Four and anything else, it would be cool just to kind of sit there and listen to him rattle on and on and on about why he was the world's greatest villain, or why he should rule the world, or why he's taking revenge on, you know, I'd probably get a kick just out of listening to him rattle on and on. You know, just as long as I didn't get killed. So, great question. Okay, guys, I'm going to cut it off. I probably went through, well, close to half of those. But all great questions. I appreciate everybody that entered. And I will try to get back with part 2 and the drawing in the next video. It might be a couple days because I have to go back to work tomorrow. And it's getting pretty late now. So, but I'll sign off now. And we'll continue with part 2 in a couple days. Onward and upward.